Hello, everyone. My name is Alex Luna, and I haven't recorded anything in over a month. And I've heard a lot of questions, concerns throughout on YouTube and around my community. There's a lot of happening as far as news-wise, and also in around the community. And as far as asking, what's going on, how do we get here, or what's coming down the pike? It's usually next to impossible to predict, and I'm not going to do that either. But one of the quotes that people hear all the time is that one that says that history tends to repeat itself, or at least it rhymes. Well, I kind of want to talk about that, but in a different sense. And as a matter of fact, I don't want to ramble on or go on too many tangents, so I'm actually going to be reading something to try to keep me on point. So let me fix my screen here. So let me just kind of do this. One sec. Maybe about right there ish. Don't need to go smaller. Maybe. All right. Well, I'm going to let this play. While I get started here, as far as talking about the past and what my where are we headed, right? So I'm going to title this "The Echoes of Patterns." As far as when it comes to human behavior, you do see patterns, and we do tend to be creatures of habit. So if there's patterns and we're habitual, guess we will inevitably repeat them. So I am going to be quoting or referencing a book and some psychological experiments from the past. This book is well known. The title is The Fourth Turning, and it is by, I think it's well known in the corner, but anyways, well, let me just get started here. So in The Fourth Turning, it is indeed upon us. If it is indeed upon us, it arrives not merely as a repetition of past crises, but as a qualitative transformation. Previous four turnings, as far as some that we might know, the American Revolution, Civil War, the Great Depression, World War II, each emerged from the accumulated pressures of the respective unravelings. And, that's, again, people can't help but turn on the news and then, they see things going in like, what is this? Why is this happening, right? So in the past, our past hiccups, again, whether the localized or like the last I mentioned is World War II, that was far greater than local. Well, these, they accumulated in institutional resets after the fact, right, and cultural reconfigurations. What made them survivable and ultimately renewing was the presence of a shared reality, common references or common reference points, national narratives, cultural cohesion, and a relatively uniform experience of hardship and, most importantly, recovery. Today, however, the foundations of this shared space are crumbling. At least that's what people seem to be saying. This disintegration is not just political or economic, but ontological. Marshall McLuhan, remember I mentioned the book, but like I said, also he is more like a thinker. I think he was from the 80s, but anyways, Marshall McLuhan warned of this as the medium becomes the message, and as the medium shifts from print to television to internet to algorithmic feeds, the content itself loses stability. The content itself loses stability. The message of today's dominant medium, digital networks, is Not unity or clarity, but fragmentations and saturations. Individuals are no longer embedded in broad civic frameworks, but atomized into echo chambers, filtered by algorithmic sortings and reinforced by ideological tribes. As McLuhan anticipated, the new medium does not just reshape communication, it remakes consciousness. Medium is message. We really don't have that much experience with this new medium, the social networks, and now we're venturing into the LLMs that's up and running. Within this altered consciousness, the very mechanics of social influence mutate. Take the instance of the Osh conformity experiment. When confronted with major consensus, even an obvious incorrect one, many individuals will abandon their sense to align with the group. But what happens when every individual belongs to a different, custom-made group? Or when the group is a botnet, a comment section, or an influence-curated reality? Conformity in such conditions doesn't produce cohesion, it produces disorientation? Does it? The self loses confidence in its capacity to judge, overwhelmed not by an authoritative consensus, but by a deluge of conflicting micro-consensus. There's other experiments that we can, like I said, ponder on as far as what that might mean as far as human behavior. Milgram's obedience studies also gain new meaning. In the past, authority had a clear structure, uniforms, credentials, institutional power. Today, authority is diffused, masked, and often unaccountable. People obey algorithms, follow influencers, comply with opaque corporate policies, and conform to shifting ideological codes enforced not by the state or the powers that be, but by viral outrage. The electric shocks of Milgram's lab have been replaced by social penalties such as deplatforming, cancellation, reputation manage, and they work just as effectively, if not more insidiously. Perhaps most hauntingly, Calhoun's Mouse Utopia. This is something that was like in the 50s. I think it went all the way through the 70s. Less known, but still, as far as what this implication might mean, is too significant not to bring about. So Calhoun's Mouse Utopia reappears not as a laboratory footnote, but as a living metaphor. In Universe 25, the mice were free from external threats, had abundant resources, yet spiraled into collapse due to behavioral breakdowns, infanticide, social withdrawal, hyperaggression, and the emergence of the beautiful ones who groomed obsessively but ceased to reproduce. In a society increasingly characterized by screen-based interaction, loneliness amidst abundance, and a declining birth rates, Calhoun's metaphor becomes a shadow of prophecy? Does it? Yet humans are not mice. We possess reflection, memory, tradition, and imagination. And should I say it? Free agency? Do we have free agency? And this is precisely where Neil Howe, the fourth turning, the generational theory may offer a glimmer of hope. Fourth turnings are not just periods of destruction, they are crucibles of rebirth. It's the rebuilding. So it's not just the collapse of other empires from the past, like the Roman Empire came and went, but it was the people that were there rebuilt it, and it is no longer the Roman Empire. But so, anyways, let me read that again. The four turnings are not just periods of destruction, they are crucibles of rebirth. The generational archetypes he outlines, prophets, nomads, heroes, and artists, suggest a rhythm of complementarity. Each generation prepares the soil for the next. Heroes rise in crisis, but they must be tempered by prophets who carry a moral vision. Artists, shaped in the post-crisis rebuilding, embody the deep longing for beauty and meaning. The challenge today is whether these archetypes can manifest meaningfully in a world shaped by fragmented media and psychological destabilization. Will the hero generation forge unity in our digital chaos? Question mark. Will prophets emerge not as cynical manipulators, but as visionaries grounded in wisdom, love, and truth? Question mark. Will the artist generation bring forth new forms that can restore coherence without suppressing individuality? To meet these challenges, we must reckon with McLuhan's warning that technology is not a neutral extension, but a force that reshapes us. It is not enough to await the turning's resolution. We must become conscious participants in the shaping of its outcome. That means cultivating media literacy, developing interior life beyond screens, rebuilding face-to-face community, and re-anchoring truth in sources deeper than algorithmic opinion. It also means revisiting and revivifying tradition, not as nostalgia, but as inheritance. The past is not a prison, but a pattern. And within it lies tools for transcendence. At least to transcend our chaotic happenstance? Question mark. Religious traditions, philosophical disciplines, and cultural memory offer narratives deeper than consumption or outrage. They provide the context in which the fourth turning might not become a terminal collapse, but a redemptive reckoning. So, to sum this up, while the rhythms of history continue, the instruments playing the music have changed. The fourth turning may be a familiar season, but its texture is different, shaped by screens, saturated by stimuli, and suffused with psychological and spiritual fatigue. Whether it leads to renewal or ruin depends on our willingness to become conscious of the forces shaping us, to reclaim agency from the tools we have allowed to define us, and to reassert our humanity in the face of machine-mediated existence. The cycles may repeat, but the outcome is not fixed. We do not know what tomorrow might look like, but we must be aware of the machine, and as far as so how can I say, each government has to control its citizens some way, shape, or form, from times of old to now. I mean, without governance, I guess there's chaos and everybody out for themselves. But what is creating our reality narrative? Are we influenced? Is it the same as yesterday? Is it a little bit different? If the medium is the message, and we have seen that these new technologies are changing us, some have no idea as far as just how much change they're going to bring about. I guess we're just going to have to wait and see. Let's get some popcorn then and see if we can, if changes coming about, and some things are gonna. There is a phase of rebuilding, and well, let's at least partake in some of that. If things are going to, and if they're not good, we might have some time, but at least the question should be there. What's coming down the pike? Do you believe in the fourth turning as far as that goes? And if there are 4 stages that repeat and repeat and repeat, what stage are we in? Well, I think I'm going to leave it there. So until next time, the handle is the Sol Sol. I'm Alex Luna.